Welcome, listeners, to the InFAWmation Nation podcast, brought to you by the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, Division of Fish and Wildlife, Hunter Education Program. I am this month's host, Dana Kopek, accompanied by Branton Ellman on production and editing. We are coming to you from the Outdoor Education Office in Exeter, Rhode Island, and the focus of this podcast is on hunting, fishing, and related educational programming, as well as all things wildlife outreach in the state of Rhode Island. This month's guest is Tommy Thompson, so welcome, Tommy. Welcome, Tommy Thompson, Senior Fisheries Biologist. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, guys.
So you are a Senior Fisheries Biologist. Could you just give us a brief overview of your position, what you majored in?
All right, so I've been with DEM for over 10 years now, and I started at the Division of Forestry as a seasonal laborer. And then after that, I was lucky enough to work at the Great Swamp as a student researcher for 3 to 4 seasons. You know, fishing at Carolina Hatchery with various school groups, you know, salmon in the classroom, so that was a good experience to have. I started off at CCRI for 2 years, and I transferred to URI and earned a bachelor's degree in aquaculture and fisheries technology. And then shortly after that, I worked actually at URI at the Bay Campus, the Narragansett Bay Campus in East Farm, as a marine research assistant for 2 years before I became full-time at DEM. And I started off at Lafayette Trout Hatchery as a hatchery supervisor, and then after that transferred over to Perryville Hatchery, where I'm at now. I've been running that facility ever since, so I enjoy it every day. It's very cool to work outside, work with fish, something I really like doing. But parts of that position, so we raise salmonids from eggs to adult. There's various different projects to do throughout the year, seasonal stuff. This time of year we have a lot of small egg production. So in the fall we'll spawn the fish, we'll manually strip spawn the fish, and this time of year we do a lot of egg picking, which is kind of tedious, but it needs to be done.
Yeah, what's the near term for getting ready for opening day? How's the next several months kind of go for you and the hatchery team in general?
So right now, between Perryville, Carolina, and Lafayette, we have rainbow trout. Usually the first fish will stock out, so it takes about 16 months for them to reach stockable size, which is about a pound and a half. Trout fishing season closes the last day of February, so it gives us, and it opens again April, the second Saturday in April, so it gives us the month of March to stock over 80 lakes and ponds and rivers throughout the state. With brook trout, brown trout, we have golden trout this year and past previous years, but a lot of this time right now is kind of pushing the fish to get them big enough to be stockable size, and then we get the smaller fish with the brown trout, brook trout, so a lot of egg picking, dealing with the fry for the next year's class of fish. And then just regular daily feeding, mortality removal, maintenance of the facility, and then the winter's a little tough with the plowing and everything, trying to get into each one of the raceways and everything. A little more work, but each season's different. And the spring is really busy with stocking, and then once we get rid of the stockable fish, from the small fish we have now that are inside the hatch houses, they'll go right outside, and then they'll start the process all over. Like I said, it was about 17 months to get about a pound and a half. And usually in late December, we'll get 200,000 eyed rainbow trout eggs from a company in Washington. So we don't have the room to have our own brood stock for rainbow trout, but we have our own brood stock for brown trout, brook trout, and golden rainbow trout, and salmon. So we can keep some of those, and then once we take the eggs from them in the fall, they're good enough to we'll take them for 2 or 3 years, and then we'll stock them out. 3 or 4 pounds, give the angler something to catch. So hopefully this winter we'll have some fish like that, maybe near for ice fishing season.
Oh, good. And speaking of ice fishing, you're a pretty avid ice angler, aren't you?
Yes, indeed.
How long have you been doing that?
I'd say probably late teenage years, trying to get into it. A few friends and stuff, but I like fishing of all kinds. But ice fishing, a lot of people kind of frown upon it. Not frown upon it, but
Yeah, how is it in Rhode Island getting enough time to actually get out on the ice?
it depends. Some years you won't have any ice. Be a warm winter, and some years you'll have maybe just a short stretch of 2 weeks of it, or other years you can have a solid 2 to 3 months. And I remember some years that was, I think it was maybe 2014 or 15. It was frozen from I think late December all the way to March, almost the end of March, and that made stocking that season a little difficult.
Yeah, right.
Cut holes in the ice, just stocking, but that was a fun year.
Professional life gets harder, but the personal, you can do some better ice fishing. That sounds
Right.
good,
Yeah.
yeah, so we should remind people that it's a hit or miss in Rhode Island, but there are plenty of years where we have good ice, safe ice.
I think last year we had about 2 to 3 weeks of it, or maybe a month, maybe. That was, but some years I remember not going at all, which is kind of nice too. But you can always guarantee up, in New Hampshire and stuff like that. They have a whole
coastal moderate
whole
climate.
season for that.
Yeah.
So can you speak a little bit about what safe ice is?
All right, so usually conditions necessary for ice fishing. Typically, safe ice will form when we experience 5 to 7 days of temperatures in the 30s during the day and teens at nighttime. Cold, windless nights are ideal for ice formation, and shallow ponds and lakes will cool sooner and freeze faster than deep ponds and lakes, but they'll also warm faster, which consequently, experience ice out sooner than later. So there's several different factors that can create unsafe ice conditions. One being moving currents caused by incoming or outflowing rivers. Underwater springs bring warmer water moving that can create pockets of open water or thin ice. And even flocks of geese or ducks can keep ice from forming. Emergent weeds, rocks, fallen trees, and logs absorb the sun's warmth and decrease the thickness of the surrounding ice. So that is another condition that can create unsafe ice. And on any body of water, periods of locally warming weather, especially those featuring rain, to erode the ice and can increase runoff, decreases ice thickness. And anglers should also avoid pressure cracks, heaves, and ridges, which form when layers of thickening ice expand, leaving lines of open water as the winds shift the ice. So the primary consideration before beginning any ice fishing trip is ice thickness. To be safe for ice fishing, ice thickness needs to be a minimum of 4 inches of new, clear, hard ice. Ice thickness of 3 inches or less, stay off. 5 to 6 inches of clear ice is safe for snowmobile or ATV, and about 8 to 12 inches can support a car or small pickup truck. DEM recommends a minimum of 6 inches of hard clear ice before ice fishing, but they don't monitor the ice conditions throughout the state. The only place
to that effect, do you typically see any ice that actually gets to the thickness of a car would be able to safely pass anyway?
Yeah.
Around here,
Yeah, I've seen trucks on Warden's Pond previous seasons, but not typically too much, but you'll see ATVs.
Yeah, I can see ATVs.
So DEM does monitor the conditions at Lincoln Woods State Park, Only Pond, and the 24-hour ice safety hotline is 667-6222. For more information on ice safety, you can go online to www.riparks.com/icesafe for safety tips, information on ice strength, and guidance of what to do if a person were to fall through the ice.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for that. That was really good information. So I remember we went ice fishing actually last year with a couple of other staff members, and I remember you had recommended some cleats that we can put on our regular footwear to help us with traction on the ice, and we also had special ice picks that we put around our necks in case we fell in. Do you want to just speak about a little bit of safety equipment?
Sure. There are a number of different types of safety equipment that an angler should bring out before venturing on ice of any thickness. Always be prepared for the unexpected. To check the ice, you need an ice chisel or an auger. So as you walk out onto any frozen pond or lake, you can either drill the hole or firmly strike the ice with a sharp chisel. If the chisel punctures or cracks the ice, immediately follow your path back to shore. Another equipment is ice picks. Ice anglers venturing out on the ice of unknown thickness should always carry ice picks. They can be purchased at any local bait shop or sporting goods store. And some anglers actually make their own with 2 wooden dowels and nails. Should you fall through the ice with the ice picks, can be stuck into the ice and used to pull yourself from the icy waters.
And we should clarify too, the safe ice thickness still trumps having ice picks, because if the ice is too thin, you can't pull yourself out if it's cracking beneath you.
Right, if it's 3 inches under, I'd stay off.
Yeah, you can still use the tricks of, wide body area, try to crawl out on thin ice, but if it's too thin and you can't get yourself out on the the hard ice at all, you're in trouble.
Right. It's always good to have a rope too, and have someone with you to check the ice first. Wouldn't venture out and on
like
your
any
own.
Somewhat risky sport. Having pairs of buddy system is absolutely advisable.
Yep.
Don't go out inebriated or on prescription drugs or anything.
Right. So the rope, I have a one that has a buoy. It's probably 50 feet long. There's a buoy attached to the end, so you can offer assistance from a distance.
Yes.
If someone does fall.
When someone's panicking,
right,
not thinking straight, yeah.
And if you were to fall through, you could throw it to a potential rescuer. And the ice cleats, or creepers, people call. They consist of adjustable straps, belts, or elastic bands, or rubber, and they fit over your shoes, supporting metal teeth. They attach to your boots, allowing traction on smooth, slippery ice, helping anglers avoid injury-causing falls.
Yeah, those were excellent. I felt very confident wearing those.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So you don't really need those when you have a lot of snowpack on top. It's more for the clear ice, or if it's really nice, you can bring ice skates.
It had rained a few days before, so it was a very slick top.
Yep.
We had done that staff day.
But you can get those at any bait shop or store, and I use corkers. They're a little heavier, but you can get them cheap. You just go over any boot, and it's even good to have not even being on the ice when.
Yeah, you can use it for
saltwater
fishing on the rocks.
Anywhere, yeah. That's right. Some people do carry a life jacket, which is not a bad idea. Traveling on to ice that unknown thickness.
Yeah, you're still above water. And
right.
Hit your head on the way down.
Yep.
That'll keep you above water.
Serious anglers up north, they'll have like a survival suit, but that's like Canadian. Up there, but our season's not that it won't matter, but they're expensive.
Yeah,
flotation suit, kind of overkill for down here. They have the shelters and everything.
More remote,
right?
Often, Not to say out in the middle of a pond, you're still pretty remote out here, and if no one's around. But.
Yep. So that's another piece of safety equipment.
So in the event that you are outside for a prolonged period of time and maybe you're not dressed appropriately or you do fall in, can you speak a little bit about hypothermia, which is when the body loses heat faster than it can produce it?
Correct, yeah. Hypothermia, like you said, is a condition in which the body loses heat faster than it can be produced. Hypothermia is caused by exposure to cold weather, wind, rain, or submersion in cold water. It can set when the body core temperature reaches 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and is marked by shivering, dizziness, trouble speaking, lack of coordination, confusion, faster heartbeat, shallow breathing, and the victim may become blue-gray in color. To protect yourself from hypothermia, dress in layers, wear a warm hat and gloves, and stay dry. If hypothermia is suspected, move the victim to a warm environment, remove wet clothing, and cover the individual with warm layers of clothing or blankets. And if the water temperature is under 32 degrees, exhaustion or unconsciousness can occur in under 15 minutes. And if the water temperature is between 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, it can set in 15 to 40 minutes.
So it'd probably be a good idea to keep an extra set of clothes in your car with you when you go ice fishing, just in case something does happen.
Absolutely.
Also, just in addition to that, high calorie and high fat snacks, and stay hydrated so that your digestive system is constantly working, and that will help keep your core body temperature up.
Correct.
Yep, and always watch your exertion, like we said, layers. So if you're hoofing out a bunch of equipment, maybe you don't wear your jacket out, you keep yourself cool, and then once you're sitting still and the cold sets in, then you can put those layers back on, keep yourself from sweating and getting wet in that way.
Just remember, no ice is without some risk. Be sure to measure clear hard ice in several places, typically using an ice chisel or hand auger, and drilling a hole and checking every 100 to 150 feet or so. So that's a good way to start right there.
So at this point, we've found safe ice. What's the next step? I assume we brought out some fishing equipment, and it's probably different than your standard freshwater, saltwater fare.
Right. There's an endless amount of ice fishing gear and accessories, just like any other fishing, available nowadays. The best thing about buying fishing gear for kids, teens, and adults is that it is quite inexpensive. To keep it simple, I'll try to narrow it down to the 10 best ice fishing equipment and accessories. So I guess you want to start off with warm winter clothing, right? You don't want to be out there freezing. So wearing multiple layers rather than one single heavy layer is a good idea. So for the inner tier, it consists of a light, comfortable, moisture-transferring material such as polyester. The middle tier can be a light, thick, low-density clothing material such as wool or fleece, and provides good insulation because they trap warm air pockets. The outer tier should be wind and water resistant to block frigid wind chills and keep moisture away from your warm, dry underclothing. Always wear a hat. That helps trap the body heat. Mittens and polypropylene gloves are good if you're going to be putting your hands in water or checking lines. Heavyweight wool socks are the best, I find, for a long day on the ice. Pair that with a mid-height water-resistant snow boot. You can be out there all day. If you want to be drilling holes, you might want a pair of ice chaps or bibs that keeps water from reaching your clothes on the lower half. And another good idea is to bring neck warmers or disposable hand and feet warmers and sunglasses. So that's the clothing part. So once you're all nice and warm, ready to go out there, I guess how you're going to get everything out there, we're going to start off with an ice fishing sled. It could be an old plastic sled, an old custom sled. People make them, with the old, the flyer, radio flyer, I think.
It's the old-fashioned wagon.
Yeah, so a lot of guys will make that. It's a little cumbersome. I have I think it's a 5 foot in length, deep body sled. I think I purchased for maybe $50 at Bass Pro Shops, but that's what I would recommend, a deep body one, about a foot deep. And it's handy for pulling all your ice fishing gear out into the pond. And then, so to make the hole, you're going to need an auger or an ice chisel or a spud. An ice chisel is a long-handled metal blade flattened on one side and angled along the other to form a thin, sharp point. It's simple and economical. Standard chisels work well for testing ice thickness, but are noisy, often spook fish, and make chopping holes difficult when the ice is thick. So there's 3 types of augers pretty much. There's a hand auger, gas-powered auger, and battery-powered auger. The hand augers, these are reasonably priced. They're lightweight, and they provide a good workout. Therefore, they are the choice of many anglers. The drawback is they can be tiring when the ice is, I'd say, over 8 inches in thickness. Plugging a lot of holes and everything like that. Can be tiresome, but I do like the workout, so I personally like the hand auger. The gas-powered ice auger, it features usually a 2 to 3.5 horsepower motor, and they're the choice of most serious ice anglers because they're easier to use as they cut through ice of any thickness. The drawback is they are relatively bulky and heavy. They could be difficult to transport on ice, and if the gas spills, it can get on gloves and hands, creating an off odor for the fish. You're touching the bait and the reels and everything like that. And then now they have electric powered auger. These are equipped with lithium-ion batteries, and these hold plenty of charge and can last over hours of continuous hole drilling. They're convenient, lightweight, and produce no emissions, and they're quiet, which helps to not spook the fish. Some can use with a deck plate with a 20 to 20 volt electric drill. They have conversion kits that
Yeah,
they
I've seen
sell.
those. Adapt
Yep.
your household drill, and they seem to work, especially
Yeah,
around here.
I
Well
have one of
enough.
those too. Yep. I actually like. I think Clam makes it. It's not too expensive either. And then if you, so say the battery does die, you have the other handle that can attach, so you can use it as a hand auger.
Oh, yeah,
That's the
backup.
drawback of the battery ones.
Yeah, cold weather especially can
Yeah, the battery life can drain.
pour batteries.
Drilling many holes throughout the day. And they don't have as much power as a gas-powered one. So it really depends what your budget is and what you want to do.
Yeah, pros and cons to each.
Especially around here, you don't get too much thick ice. Rarely do you get above a foot of ice. It's typically 5 inches to 8, and that's not too bad to drill through. And then to catch these little fish, you're going to need ice fishing tip-ups, or a rod and reel combo. Catching fish with tip-ups is a deep-rooted ice fishing tradition dating back many years. Tip-ups are ice fishing devices that allow you to fish without actually holding the line the whole time. When a fish takes the bait, the arm of the device tips and a flag indicates that there is a fish on the line. You can spool these up with braided Dacron, and use a monofilament leader of 2 to 3 feet with a split shot, and a proper size hook. So when you set it up, you lower the bait to the desired depth, typically 1 to 2 feet off the bottom. You set the flag arm under the teeth-shaped spindle, and when the flag is triggered, pull the tip up out of the water, grab the line if it's running, and set the hook with a sharp snap of your wrist. There's many different types of tip-ups. Just for simplicity, we just do it. There's a cross-member tip-up, a polar thermal tip-up, which covers the entire hole, and then an underwater tip-up. There's a rectangular horizontal body. You can get a rod and reel combo, fairly priced, $30 to $40, $50, nothing too crazy, just to get introduced to the sport. Typically, if you're just going to use one rod, maybe a 28-inch medium power rod with 4 to 8 pound test on a size 20 spinning reel is a basic versatile combo. You can range from catching perch to pickerel, bass. So that's just one if you don't want to go broke, because they have hundreds of dollars.
Like fishing rods in general.
Right.
Kind of
Just to
run the gamut.
Just to get into the sport, you can get a reasonably priced $40 one. And when it comes to lures, they come in virtually every style, shape, size, and color imaginable. So it's easy to understand why many beginning anglers become confused at what they see. But there's just maybe 7 categories that you can break them down into, such as teardrops, ice flies, plastics, jigging minnows, spoons, blade baits, and swimming jigs. And if you can look on any website to get more information on the types of
Yeah, you
lures.
can go on a deep dive and
Oh, yeah.
kind of look at that. And there's always the old joke, lures attract fishermen as much as fish. So
Yeah.
the traditional stuff works, so you don't have to go too crazy.
Nah, that's right. And then same with so you're gonna tip everything, the tip ups and the rod and reel with some bait, and a bait bucket. So a well insulated plastic, metal, or styrofoam bait bucket won't freeze and keeps minnows alive for a full day on the ice. Battery operated aerators, a minnow net, or plastic scoop are good ideas to avoid dipping your hands in icy minnow buckets. And the most popular live baits are minnows, mealworms, suckers, worms, and spikes, or maggots they call them. And they can be purchased at any local shop or online. An ice scoop, a skimmer. Another good item to bring is an ice scoop or skimmer, and a small shovel. Slush, ice chips, and blowing snow can be scooped from your holes with a plastic or metal skimmer. Some have a ruler stamped into the handle to check the ice depth, I have that one. That's how I check the ice when I go fishing. You may also need to dig down through the snow to reach the ice, so a small shovel with a folding handle works quite well. And there's also it's a good idea to bring a chair. It's a sitting activity mostly, ice fishing. So a 5-gallon bucket with a lid for Bill makes one a sit and fish, and that's a good idea to put everything in the bucket.
Multi-purpose.
Yeah, multi-purpose. That's ice fishing tradition, like I said, for organizing tip-ups, rods, and accessories. And you can keep the fish in the bucket at the end of the day if you want to bring some home for dinner. And then another good item is a portable propane grill, some food and snacks, and some beers. But long days on the ice require much-needed calories from drilling holes and running around checking tip-ups. Ice fishing is typically a social event with 3 to 4 of your buddies. My go-tos when I go out there, I always try to bring a can of Pringles, honey roasted peanuts, some beef jerky, and then when I fire up the grill, Italian sausage with yellow mustard, marinated steak tips, some cheeseburgers.
This is a cookout, not fishing.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
And if I'm lucky to have one of my hunting friends bring out some venison, because that's the best out there. I'll tell you that.
It's season for it, yeah.
Yep. So if I can get one of those guys to shoot a deer and bring it out, there's nothing better than some back straps on the grill.
Ice fishing and smorgasbord.
Yep. And obviously some cold beverages.
Yep. Enjoyed responsibly, of course. What else? Anything else on that?
Oh, that's pretty much the
big picture items.
The big picture, yeah. So, and then just some other random equipment that you might find in an ice fisherman's sled, such as clippers, forceps, some needle nose pliers. A depth finder or sounder is used to clip on the line, so you can quickly sink it to the bottom and determine the depth of the hole. And then from there, you can accurately suspend your lure or bait at the desired depth. A fishing knife, cut dead minnows or to fillet the fish. It's a good idea to bring a rag or a towel, to wipe and dry your hands.
Absolutely.
While fishing, rags.
First aid kit, got to bring that out there. And, I don't have one, but a couple of my friends, they have like an ice fishing hut or a tent. That's good if you're going to be out there all day. It keeps you comfortable if you plan on spending long hours on the lake. Even an indoor outdoor heater to bring out there, and a radio. It's good to bring a radio out there, get some tunes going.
Yeah, Rhode Island generally can find signal, but good idea if you're way out in the middle of the water. Make sure you can get in contact with someone or just listen to music.
Yep.
And I know they also have you had experience with I know some people use like the camera systems and stuff. Have you ever played around with any of those? Around here, it's a little overkill. But.
Yeah, no, I haven't, but I've seen them, like the sonar devices and flashes.
Yeah, or depth finders, electronic depth finders.
Underwater cameras, I have not.
360 cameras, watching the fish take your bait. Seems.
Over here, a lot of the ponds are shallow, so.
Yeah, maybe not as
useful
bang for your buck.
Right, unless you're going to go to
Still cool, but but you pay for it.
Go fishing at Brown and Mill, you drop it down right in the mud, 4 feet. Not going to see much.
So, Tommy, we have a question from one of our listeners. They're asking, is there a special license required for ice fishing?
There's no special license required for ice fishing, but a current fishing license is required for any person 15 years of age or older wishing to catch or take any fish from freshwater in Rhode Island. A trout conservation stamp is required of anyone wishing to keep or possess a trout or salmon. And the daily creel limit in possession for trout or salmon is 2 fish right now, and that's from December 1st to the last day of February. That's when trout season closes. And a new regulation this year is the minimum size of trout has to be 8 inches, and for salmon, the minimum size has to be 11 inches. And there's no closed season on other freshwater fish, but there are creel limits and size limits on certain species. And not all the waters are considered trout waters. Like, example, Warden's Pond or Indian Lake, they're open throughout the year, but if you were to fish Barber's Pond, that closes to fishing on the last day of February, and then it will open up again the second Saturday in April for opening trout day.
Is there a way to find a more comprehensive list for those things? Is it available?
If you look online,
on the
yeah,
website somewhere?
Yep, DEM website, the abstract, the freshwater fishing abstract.
Right, yes, the freshwater abstract should list that out clearly.
And for ice anglers, you can have 5 lines in the water. I personally I'll put 4 tip-ups in the water, and I'll use a rod and reel combo and bounce around to the different holes. So you can have 5 lines in the water. Some states, I know New Hampshire and Maine only allow you to have 2. And in Connecticut, you can have 6. So that's kind of pretty cool for Rhode Island to have 5 in the for the small ponds. But
do we require labeling to the owner for our tip-ups?
Nope. If you have a shelter, you do. Not a portable shelter, but I know in New Hampshire they have that. You have to have your address on it, and but they're out there for months at a time. Yeah. Over here, not so much, and you don't need to do it. You don't need to register any of the equipment that you have.
If anyone has any further questions for you, is there a good way to reach you?
You can reach me at my state email at tommy.thompson@dem.ri.gov, or the state cell phone number is 401-374-3408.
Awesome. And of course, we can't forget everyone's favorite segment of the podcast, and that is, do you have a funny or interesting story from the field?
I guess depends if you think it's funny or not, but I guess one of the funnier things is falling in the raceways or the pond. I'm surrounded by water all the time. I personally haven't fallen in it yet, knock on wood. Now I will. But it's funny hearing stories of coworkers saying they just missed a step and they either fell in a sump, or just topping their boots and tripping right in the water. It's not so funny in the winter, but summertime, it's all right.
They're just trying to get the fish perspective.
Yep. Yes. As long as they're not hurt. But I think falling the raceways, or that's, like I said, I haven't, but now I'm definitely gonna.
Yeah, no, you stayed out of the water.
Now I'm going in.
But I remember a winter where we were on Wardens doing some work in the wintertime, and I almost fell in. I got down to my last inch of my boots, and you grabbed me. So
that was not.
You
fun.
stayed out. That's not a funny or interesting. That was just a hard day of work.
Oof. You breaking through the ice and
breaking through the ice and an unexpected cold snap that we weren't ready for.
How'd you do that again? You just that's actually it's funny now. It's funny now. At the time, it wasn't.
No,
because it was me and you out there and
just a cold day.
Pulling the net in.
Yeah.
Is that just
pulling in a net that
you had the waders
over.
on?
Yeah, and I was just reaching over the bow and just got off balance enough because it was tough work pulling it in.
Yep.
And you grabbed me by the scruff and pulled me back up.
Saved your life.
You saved me from a cold ride at least.
And you kept working too, because I would have stopped right there.
No, yeah,
I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Yeah, no, I'm trying.
Yeah, you're dedicated.
Oh yeah, he was. I forgot about that.
No.
Bringing that up, and then
and the bosses wanted it done, so.
Yeah, right. And then just when you're out in the fields, it's kind of funny. You're driving the stocking truck around, with like a big bullseye on it. People are like,
yeah,
there it is, or
the ice cream.
The first thing they ask is how many fish you got out there. And you're not really supposed to tell them, but it's like, take a guess. I can't tell you. Sorry. It's the number one question people will ask.
Yeah, it's the same theme. Falling into the water. It seems to be any fisheries folk who comes on the story. The stories always tend to center around that.
Just like taking a misstep, or.
Yeah, it happens. By the odds, the guys who are on the water all the time tend to fall into it.
So we've been there for 10 years and haven't yet. But I'm
you're
going
bucking
in.
the trend.
But yeah, it's just funny. Like, you should have been here over the weekend. Like, oh, why? Because I took a swim. Like, oh, did you really? How'd you do that? Just missing a step. Just not so much slipping on the ice or anything, but just kind of just not paying attention.
Yep.
Bloop, right in there, swim with the fish. Get your cell phone all wet. But I'm definitely going in now.
Yep. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for being on our podcast. It was really interesting learning about all of the ice fishing techniques and equipment and everything.
You're very welcome, and hopefully you guys keep tight lines, and I'm hoping that we can do a winter stocking for ice fishing this year. You have to check the DM website for more information about that. As of right now, we're hoping near Christmas, but if not, we'll try to do it maybe for Martin Luther King weekend, and then at least get a couple months of some good solid ice fishing, and hopefully everybody enjoys the fish that they catch, and hopefully we can put some nice fish out there this year. And if not, you have to wait for opening day, which will come soon enough.
Sounds promising.
Very good.
All right, thank you, Tommy. Pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tommy, for taking the time to come on the podcast to provide us with quality information. Tune in next month to meet our herpetologist, Scott Buchanan. If you have any questions for our upcoming guest, please email Scott Travers, the Hunter Education Coordinator, at scott.travers@dem.ri.gov. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for tuning in. This has been another episode of the InFAWmation Nation.